Hello?
Hello, is this Wonka Watch?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
Do you want to ask who I am?
Oh, who the fuck are you?
It's me, Hugh Grant. I've heard about all the great work you're doing out here for the movie. You've really promoted. I've enjoyed the moniker Hugh Galumpa. I thought that was very fun.
That
Who
means
the
so
fuck
much.
is that? That's not.
Don't
that's
even
not Hugh
know.
Grant. You're so welcome. But I was really calling you because I wanted to. I'm fucking losing it. I'm losing the voice, man. Croissant, Hugh Grant. It's me, Hugh Grant. I'm calling you because I was. It really works every time. I'm calling you because I was wanting to reward you for all of your hard work on the podcast and promoting everything. So I wanted to send you the Hugh Grant album. The Hugh Grant photo album.
Oh, my goodness. Are just photos of you?
I want you to picture it. 8 still images of me from my films. 1 page apiece.
Okay.
One for every 10 episodes you've done.
Oh,
Do another
wow.
10. Maybe you'll get a booster pack in the mail.
Oh, wow. So photos that I probably have already seen if I've watched your movies, or...
Yes, with episode
Oh.
90. Hold on. It's me, Hugh Grant. With episode 90. You guys will get a photo from Love Actually. That's not even in the basic set.
Oh, wow. That's so...
The basic set is all photos from Bridget Jones's diary.
Wait, honestly, I'm kind of okay with those stills. I'm not mad. I don't know if Felicia wants any part of that, but we have open space on our walls in our apartment studio in the well. So, I mean, how big are they? Is it just digital, or are they like framed
about 3
and
by
signed?
4.
Okay. Wow. Well, that means so much.
Wallet sized.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Bring them
here.
around in your wallet.
A little Hugh Grant in my wallet.
A Hugh Grant
wallet.
for your wallet.
A credit
But
card
anyway,
Hugh
try and convince Felicia to see my beauty. Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wonka Watch.
Hey.
This is a podcast where we talk about everything in the Wonkaverse. And you may say, what the fuck was that intro? I'll explain in a moment.
No,
it
it'll all
is
make
relevant,
sense.
believe it or not. But this is a podcast where we cover every fucking aspect of the Wonkaverse leading up to the 2023 prequel. My name's Felicia.
My name's Elaine.
And today, I mean, really, but you would think 83 episodes. You've got to have covered everything. Nope, because we're talking about the fucking Gameboy Advanced game today. And we did play it. We played it for an hour and got through 2.5 levels.
Oh my god.
It's highly requested that we play the PS2 game. We will get to it. We're kind of on the video game streak right now, but we just wanted to play the one that we could play first. And I'll be honest, I thought they were the same thing, but then as soon as we started playing this, like, obviously this is not fucking the PS2 game. This is clearly like a pixel art Game Boy Advance game.
Yes.
But they had the same cover art and same studio that made them, so it was very confusing at first. But we nailed it down. I'll tell you real quick. The intro was in reference to the Oompa Loompa album. We will discuss the Oompa Loompa album.
It's such a good reward for doing so
Yeah.
much hard work. Yeah, if you guys
It's
love our
everything you
angry
don't want
episodes,
it to be.
get stoked. We're going to be full of rage.
But oh my god, what's this? In the mail, it's the Hugh Grant photo album. The Hugh Grant
Oh,
photo
wow.
album.
He did that really promptly. That's
And
a
I
little
flipped
scary.
to the last page. Flip, 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 flip. Wonka Watch news. He included 2 little headlines in here for me. How nice.
Oh my goodness.
Every once in a while, I bring something on the podcast just because of how much I like the headline. The most recent one we remember is from Tech Bros to Timothy Chalamet, How Men Are Embracing the Bracelet, which I, for some reason, have fucking memorized. I once tried to summon it, and I could. I didn't learn it on purpose. I just have it. So this one is one of the wordiest fucking titles I've ever gotten, and I feel like we've gone through our phase of the Willy Wonka of XYZ.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough of those, so I've been trying to steer away from them. But this one made me gasp. And you will see why. This was from Yahoo Finance. The title of this article is The Willy Wonka meets Walt Disney of dental care unveils comedy adventure film The Rise of Supermouth that might just get your kids to brush.
Oh, that really hurt. That felt like two
The
screws
Willy
being shoved in my
Wonka
temple.
Meets Walt Disney of dental care
What?
unveils comedy adventure film The Rise of Supermouth.
What the fuck does the Walt Disney of dental care mean?
They did not explain.
They're anti-Semitic. Like, what the fuck?
Willy Wonka meets Walt Disney of dental care. It's both. They are both
Willy
in one.
Wonka meets...
Here, and I looked at the article to see, can you explain why they're called that? And this is
so
the only
much pain.
paragraph. Supermouth, the pioneers of the first ever dentist-invented oral care system for kids, founded by the Willy Wonka meets Walt Disney of dental care, Dr. Cami Haas, is thrilled to announce the launch of its film, The Rise of Supermouth. No explanation. But I did want to talk a little bit about The Rise of Supermouth, because good lord. In the first look at this family adventure, we meet the Supermouth Squad, a team of superhero dentists and their comical sidekicks, as they attempt to stop villainous candy maker Cavatar from spreading sugar bugs to ruin teeth throughout the galaxy.
Cavatar.
This hybrid live-action animated film is ultimately about two kids taking to heart the lesson from their late father about using the power of smiles to find their inner strength and reconnect as a family. And I do have the poster here for you.
What the shit? None of this has made sense. None of this has made sense. How... You'll laugh, you'll cry? You'll cry? The Rise of Supermouth sounds...
premieres in 6 days,
heinous.
19 hours, and 4 minutes.
We have like 10 different animation styles going on at once.
Oh my god!
Do you see, like... You can,
I'm sorry, I just went to the website. Meet the Supermouth Squad. Dr. Have One Super Smile, born on 2-star planet and as the youngest 2-starian to win a planetary science fair and achieve celebrity status, Dr. Have One Super Smile was destined to become a super dentist. His companion Turbo, a spacecraft, influences his powers. In his travels, Dr. Have One Smile would often visit the beautiful Tooth Carry Land. There he would find love and start his journey to become an orthodontist. There's also Tooth Carry. She grew up in a castle high atop the mountains in the beautiful and majestic forest of Tooth Carry Land. So just her name. So the place is named after her. She's named after the place. Cool. She's a fairy. Like most fairies, she can fly, but her abilities knew no bounds. She's an animal lover with 32 different species of pets, including 8 personal pets. Wait, what? Okay. The Tooth Carry bonded... Oh, okay. Her name is the Tooth Carry.
Mm-hmm. Instead of
with a
Carey.
the. Okay.
I thought it was like a Drew Carey spinoff that was about to happen, but no.
Bristles, the dragon. Bristles loves cooking.
Bristle...
Flossosaurus. At the end of the Cretaceous period on Earth, one egg was shot into space during the meteor strike that wiped out the dinosaurs. The egg then traveled 65 million years to its final destination, Tooth Carry Land. The Tooth Carry and Bristles found the glowing egg and incubated it using Bristles' heat and the Tooth Carry's healing force field. Since Flossosaurus, Flosso for short, was a child, it had a way with floss, just like a cowboy with a rope. It could lasso floss and use it to keep its large dinosaur teeth in tip-top shape. I did not take these notes. I'm just exploring the website. I'm sorry. It got so good at it, it started to teach its friend how to loss its teeth. Okay, Cavatar, madcap confectioner and evil adversary of the super dentist. He once dreamed of being a dentist, went to the same dental school as Have One Super Smile and the Tooth Carry. Dr. Have One Super Smile is a fucking insane name.
I am so... I feel like you're throwing words at me, and they're infecting me, and they're immediately bouncing out of my head, but I'm still stained. What is Nothing has made sense. What? It sounds like there's like
Turbo
50 different plots and none of them make sense.
Turbo the plane built on 2-star planet from the best materials and mouth of this world technology doesn't make any fucking sense. Turbo wasn't made for just any Tooth-Star Terrian. He would only be paired by a special connection. One day while on the flight deck, Dr. Have One Super Smile walked by the new ship and was drawn to its powerful force, and they were instantly paired. Okay.
This is a single movie?
Turbo is the first craft to be powered by mouthwash.
No! Who needs diesel when you got Listerine?
Born on the planet of Smouth, X is the most decorated science on 2-star planet. Don't let her obsessive nature fool you. X is as sharp as a bicuspid. Hailing from Do Re Mi, Melody was born with the gift of music and sang to her heart's content. She even formed a music group called Rubber Band at a young age. Have One, Super Smile, and the Tooth Fairy were always big fans of Melody and attended a rubber band concert during dental school. Meeting backstage, they all believed every kid in the galaxy deserved a super smile. Melody, which stands for everything she loves, mouth care, entertainment, learning, orthodontics, and dentistry.
I literally have no idea what's going on. What is the runtime on this thing? Does it say?
34 minutes.
No, wait, is it a show? Is it a show?
No, it's a
Are
movie.
you in 34 minutes? They cover all of that fucking shit. We have I'm looking at this poster. I'm gonna count all the characters that are on here. I'm gonna count these 3 monsters as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 characters. And you have to have a plot in 34 minutes. I'm so confused. I'm like a little stressed by how confused I am by this. There's like a city in the background on this poster, but there are bubbles.
Okay, I'm learning something.
What the shit?
This is a group of characters that are on like an app that kids can use when they brush their teeth.
Oh, God.
This doesn't make it better. There's also a comic book.
Well, it's like,
okay.
There could be like 2 superheroes. Why are there monsters in a fucking bullet airplane and dinosaurs?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to spend that much time on that. I feel like I got sucked into Tooth Fairy land while reading that. I can't believe... I really should have gone to the Rise of Supermouth.com. Check it out, guys. It's a real treat.
No, it isn't. It's scary. It's so scary.
I have actual Wonka Watch news. That wasn't supposed to take that long. That was supposed to be like,
really?
Funny. Yeah, no. I
well, I guess which makes sense because, like,
this.
why would that be Wonka? Really? Okay, I'm ready. Hit me.
So the actual Wonka Watch news is Gareth Snook, the current UK touring Wonka, wrote a guest blog on Broadway.com saying, "I didn't realize the power of this character, Gareth Snook, on the responsibility of playing Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory."
Damn.
So, I've got a bunch of quotes from him about it. "When Roald Dahl's story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory first came out, it must have blown people's minds. This man, this character, Willy Wonka, who is he? It's not a question that one can easily answer. Believe me, I've tried to answer it. As an actor, you try to build a backstory to help with the development of the character, which I've been doing in my own head, but you can't really comprehend the man. I'm continually trying to figure out who he is, even now as we're touring the country with this new musical adaptation. In the rehearsal room, I quickly discovered how I wanted to approach the character for our purposes on stage. I realized he's an everyman. He obviously guides the golden ticket winners and their family through the factory, but he also must guide the audience on the journey and create a relationship with them, building a level of trust. I hadn't quite realized during the rehearsal process just how important the audience was going to play in this production, particularly with my character, until we started touring. A lot of what I do is directed at them as if they're an additional golden ticket winner alongside the families on stage, so I get to bounce off of them. People really want Wonka on their side, and they want to be on his side. I didn't realize the power this character had until the audiences were in. I remember in one curtain call, a teenager in the front row got on their feet and shouted, "Wonka, call me!" And I was like, wow. You don't quite realize the responsibility you've got with this character and how powerful he is in the imagination of the audience, because he is that iconic. Here's the last quote. "Everyone thinks they know him and find him a little bit terrifying, but if you look closely at the novel and our adaptation, it's the children who are the true monsters, and the bad parenting. He does warn them all, and they don't listen, but that's not to say that Wonka doesn't also revel in their misfortune."
Hot take.
Wonka has to... Whoever's playing Wonka has to think the kids suck, though.
That's actually true. That's true. That's fair.
You need to believe that if you're gonna play Wonka. But I do take that back. If you're ever casting for the voice of Wonka for a Netflix animated series, I would like to be up for consideration.
Yes. Yes.
Let's talk about the game. So this week we covered the Game Boy Advance Charlie and the Chocolate Factory game. It's a tie-in to the 2005 movie made by the same company and the same fucking cover art as the PS2 game, so it was a little confusing at first, but this is a separate game, and it is a puzzle platformer. We did record ourselves playing it for like around an hour, which will be up on our Buy Me a Coffee this week. And here's the thing. Better than Pop Tropica. Better than Pop Tropica. Elaine played it, and I did not this time. Which was for the best, because I'm bad at platformers.
Yes, it was very silly.
Yeah, I while we did it, was making a watercolor portrait of Fickle Grubber just to see how far I could get with how long it would take us to play the game. We were ambitious. We kind of thought, oh, we'll be able to burn through it. No. We got through like 2.5 levels.
Yeah, and it was painful. It was a bit painful. Like it was silly at first, and like there was a part of me that's like, oh boy, but a lot of it was just, it was very hard. And like
here's the thing, it is an actual game, whereas
Yes.
Pop Tropica, it almost didn't really feel like a game. This at least I was like, there is a game here. It may not be for me, I may not like it, but I can recognize this at least had effort put in.
Yeah, and the mechanics that happened, for the most part, it was like, okay, this is actually leading me to do the next thing. It wasn't just like senseless the way that Pop Tropica kind of felt. Like every time we had to go down the chute to get to a room, and we had to go like down, left, right, just to get to a fucking room, was absolutely annoying. So I'm glad we didn't have things like that. The music.
Yes. We need to talk about the music. So we're playing this through. You can, if you look up online, I'll put a link in the description where we played it from. There's websites that run emulators of this game because it is like originally in a Game Boy Advance game, but it can run on computers and all that stuff. So the one problem about it is there's no like volume controls, and this game has some of the loudest and most aggressive music I have ever heard. And so I'm just, it's not aggressive, and this recording will not portray to you how badly the audio was clipping when we did this, for us, to the point where we had to restart our recording to exclude the music. But this is the menu music. Elaine just, like, recoiled. Imagine this blasting through your ears. Like, you can't even hear anything else.
No. Ugh. Like, I thought, okay, it's a start menu, and this will go away, and then we'll be fine. It'll just be quieter music, and it was overwhelming. No, it keeps up there. Honestly, it's like if a trash bag was full of spoons, and then you just whirled it around, and then
I've never heard something that
10K.
felt more designed to give you a migraine.
Yeah. Like it's painful, and it just doesn't. And it was like layers and layers. Just it like wasn't even like a song. It was just sound. That was so distracting from the game too.
And the thing is like it does have different songs for each level, but it doesn't feel like it. You know,
no,
it just the soundscape is the same, but not in a good way.
Yeah. So even though we didn't get beyond level 2, we did watch a playthrough. To kind of get a vibe.
Heavily skimmed through a playthrough, and I tried to write down all the things I thought were important.
I have a few notes as well.
Even the people who were playing through this were not having an easy time, which made me feel better.
Yeah.
So in this game, you play as Charlie. It's essentially just it's a puzzle platformer. You play as Charlie, and you go through the events of the movie. And in the game, in each level, you have to collect, if you want to unlock the Oompa Loompa album, you have to collect 25 square candies that look round. And we did manage to unlock one of the Oompa Loompa album unlocks for one of the levels. And we went to the fucking Oompa Loompa album, and we clicked on it, and I'm not fucking kidding. It was a single still image of an Oompa Loompa from the movie in like barely 180p, like displayed on a Game Boy. So like so low, and I was both mad and never had been happier that it was all for so nothing. Like it really felt like, if you could like take a single moment to personify "it's not that important" for this podcast, I feel like that really felt like, as much as it made me angry that they made us do all that to get a single still image of an Oompa Loompa from the film, it felt like it just matched the ethos of what we do here. As much as I was pissed about it, I was like, as it should be, but also I fucking hate you.
Well, and the Oompa Loompa wasn't doing anything interesting. He was just standing and staring. He was literally doing absolutely nothing. It wasn't like, oh, he's churning a cauldron. He's dancing. He was just standing.
You couldn't even see what he was looking at. He wasn't even looking at the camera. Just a 3/4 view of an Oompa Loompa.
And we checked this out again. So like to have all those, to collect all those candies, we had to, after our hour of recording, we're like, okay, let's see what the album is. Ha ha ha. And that was our reward after going through all of that. Absolutely not.
The game also does follow the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story, and the way it does so is it takes single still images of the film. So that's the thing. If there were no other single still images in the game, I'd be like, okay, at least that's something different. But they'd already used this technology. Like, we already knew they had the capability.
Yeah.
So they put it's basically, we'll just take a single still image of, like, outside the Bucket family shack, and it'd be like, the Bucket family has no connections and no money, and they're starving and almost dead. And you're like, good lord. And then they kept reusing the same photo of Charlie. I'm like, could we not get another one?
Right.
Maybe. I feel like this can't be that hard. So you go through all that, and it's playing some weird, like, Western-ass music, and then you get into the actual game for real. Elaine, do you want to discuss how we feel about the Charlie Bucket sprite?
The Charlie Bucket sprite?
That's what you call the video game character, the way they look.
Oh, yeah, okay. So he is like,
but you can talk
taller.
about whatever you want, because you seemed like you had something you were passionate about to say.
So before we get to his fucking body in general, the structure, the anatomy of this thing, the game starts the exact same way Pop Tropica starts. You are running through the streets, and you have to jump on shit to catch this floating $10 bill. And it was so similar. I was having flash. It was the same. And I was like, did Pop Tropica just rip off this entire game? Because, like, we went through that and it broke us. But yeah, talking. So he's wearing this striped sweater that, like, glitches a bit. So it looks like it's shimmering at some points.
Yeah.
And then, like, when he's standing, he's fine. Again, I think he's a little taller than he probably should be for his age. But you can crawl on the ground, and when he does that, he looks like a Komodo dragon. Like, it's like
he looks like a kid who's pretending to be a dog.
His hands, like, it's like his whole forearm becomes his hands. They like wiggle. Yeah, like if you put that thing on top, it's Puppet Wonka. That was Puppet Wonka crawling.
No, that's the thing. I think that's what it is. But the animation is he's crawling not on his hands, but on his forearms. And he's like very slinky about the whole thing. It was very Gollum too.
Yes.
And every time I saw it, it did make me laugh. Like, I'm going to give it that. Like, it was funny.
I gave him a little voice every time he did that. I tried to crawl for as much as I could until it didn't make sense. But I did have a good time. There are a lot of ways to die in this game also, we learned.
Yeah, we had a very hard time figuring out the controls because it wasn't very clear. I had to look up a walkthrough, and it took us it took us 2 minutes to figure out how to press start on the game.
Oh my god, I was like,
menu. A full 2 minutes. I think it took us 3 to figure out how to move a dumpster. Turned out you had to push a button.
I was like, we're like just started the game. So that was a huge hindrance. Was like, because they weren't the usual, like, WASD moves. It was, like, Z, X, and then, like, all this stuff. So it just felt a little unnatural to what, like, I'm used to for other things when they translate it. So, yeah, that was a huge thing. And then figuring out what you can and cannot interact with. But there were little signs throughout that would tell you, like, some things. In that first section, there's lamps that drop icicles that can, like, hurt you. And your life bar is, like, a Toblerone. It's just little chunks of chocolate, and every time you get hit, you'll lose a chocolate chunk. And then when Charlie dies, which happened many times during this playthrough, he just sits on the ground, and he rubs his little head, and he's like, oh, guys, that hurt. It hurts me. It hurts the bucket. And then you have to start over the section. But it doesn't, like, go sometimes all the way back, which I appreciated. And I liked that we could easily click through dialogue and signs, as opposed to Pop Tropica, where we had to sit through an entire conversation and then have a pregnant pause before getting to move on to the next thing. So we were able to click through things pretty quickly. So that first section wasn't too bad. It was just mostly learning the controls, learning that I can die. And I was having a giddy time. I was like, oh, it'd be funny if I, like, how hurt can I get? And there's
you were, like, deliberately dying on things to be like, oh, look at me. Oh, silly Charlie. Oh, and then suddenly the game got harder and you were like, fuck, why did I do that? How dare I?
Right? I was not expecting it to, like, go as hard as it did either, because I don't know. When I think of platformers, I think of my favorite Donkey Kong, like, is my favorite. I love that game, like, just going through all the different levels and stuff. So I started with high hopes for this, and then that quickly dwindled once we got in the factory. Like, immediately.
Yeah. The first level, I would say, besides all the controlling issues, We had a good time.
Yeah, it was giggly.
We enjoyed looking at Charlie Bucket do his terrifying crawl. It was great. I want to give you guys a list of the levels because the levels just are wild. You have In Town, Chocolate Room, Chocolate Riverbank, Wriggle Sweets Room, Fudge Room, Inventing Room, To the Juicing Room, Nut Room Garbage Chute, Garbage Pipe, Fizzy Lifting Room, Television Maze, and Over the Town. We got halfway through the Wriggle Sweets Room. So, like, not even a third of the game. It sucked. It was funny because when we recorded, Elaine and I, we were both like, oh, maybe we'll do this again. Maybe if people like it, we'll return to it and we'll like finish the game and work on it. And then we watched this playthrough and we both texted each other. Let me see if I can find the text exchange because I always think it's more fun just to read directly from it. Elaine wrote, I'm triggered watching this. And I said, it looked so frustrating. And you said the inventing room would make me burn my house down. And I said, I was watching it like, yeah, no fucking way are we finishing playing this. And you wrote 110%. Yeah. So any claims we make to say in the video, if I can't cut around them, to be like, oh, we'll do more of this. We will not. We absolutely will fucking not. I watched this and I was like, I got mad watching somebody else play this, not sitting you through it. And I let out a scream when we recorded this that made my mother check on me.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was kind of the level of intensity our playthrough is. Maybe I'll put an audio clip of it in if I remember. So, we go to the chocolate room. I feel like you can speak on this more because you actually played it.
Yeah, so I'll be honest. The main thing I only remember is the Augustus Gloop River. I kind of don't remember much before that, so I kind of I know like there's a lot of like
the fucking same.
Yeah, so Wonka's just randomly there, and he's not really helpful, but he keeps popping up throughout the entire levels, just saying stupid stuff like, oh, I made this thing, watch out for it, or ooh, this thing I made, it might be helpful. And it's just a bunch of shit candy. Some of them are from the book, so the square candies that look round, which was a fun little tidbit. I thought that was cute.
I got excited about them.
And then there's like a marshmallow candy that helps you jump high, which
there was also sweet butter bees, which were like robot bees, and the robot presence in this was quite large.
There was a lot.
There was shocking amount of robots here.
So there are some plants in the... There's some fucking plants in this goddamn chocolate room that the way that this all pans out is like they'll pop up sometimes and you can't do anything to get rid of them. You just have to wait. And if you get impatient and try to jump on them again, if you think they're going down, they pop back up and hit you, and you have to keep waiting.
The annoying thing is like most signs would explain what the things were called. I don't think they ever explained these things. They were like these weird trees that had a single balloon hanging from them.
Yeah.
And there was something like almost genital about it. I didn't want to say that, but
plants.
Like, ball sack. Like I'm like, and I don't even know what genital specifically. I mean, I guess ball sack, but like,
but yeah, no, it was like its own genital.
Yeah, it felt like this is something's genital.
Yes.
This is the factory's genital.
I don't know. It's like an abstract genital. I'm glad we both felt that because
very Georgia
I didn't know how to
O'Keeffe
describe
painting.
it. Yes.
And then there were the Audrey 2 plants, Little Shop of Horror-ass plants that were apparently called razzleberries that swallowed you if you got near them. And Elaine got stuck in these motherfuckers all the time.
I didn't realize until like so much later that you can start to hit buttons to release yourself, except it would say hit A and B, but I can't do that, so I didn't know what my things were, so I just kept hitting shit. And also, so something that's hard about translating this to PC
I do want to say
play,
there were multiple times in the game where Elaine pressed every button on her keyboard to see what would do something.
I would be like, I don't know how to fucking do this, so
you would just
how
hear
about
like
these?
You would just hear like
So these pink fucking plants. The hard thing with this also is like it's easier, I feel like, to figure out your jumps when you're like holding a controller as opposed to like when you're doing it on the keyboard. So I would try to jump over things or jump from platform to platform. But the way that Charlie walks is so fast that if I nudge myself one little bit, I would fall off a platform. And I hate nothing more than any kind of game where if I make one mistake, I jump all the way to the bottom and have to redo it. I'm like, that's senseless. Some of the next levels, it was like life ruining if you like fell down, and that was the part where I was like, absolutely not, never again. Yeah, so those pink plants, really, I would try to jump over them as well, but again, like if I didn't time it right, which is harder I feel like on this stuff, and again, like he runs faster than you expect and he jumps weird. I kept jumping on them or running into them, and then I would try to backtrack and I'd run into them again. So I really hated the plants. The bees were kind of cute, but it was just really annoying. So another weird thing, though, throughout this entire thing, the Oompa Loompas are there, but they're just like randomly floating on little islands, and they're just constantly dancing. They're just doing a little dance. They kick out a leg, put up their arms, kick out the other leg, put out their arms again, and they're just like giddy and doing that and it makes no sense, but they're just doing that. And then you randomly, as you go through, like different characters will just be standing there and you can talk to them, but they offer you no advice and are not helpful at all.
I'm gonna give it one prop though. The gumball was cool. There was a gumball that you stood on, and Charlie would like walk on top of it, and you used it to get over a caramel lake. Yeah. And then there was also bouncing jelly, which was cool. They were kind of cool because they didn't look like any of the other assets in the game. They looked like weirdly high quality. Like they looked like way more HD than the rest of the game, and they were fun. I liked those. So basically, you do a whole room in the chocolate room, and then Augustus falls in the river, and you have to chase after them within a certain time. This is where Elaine really had the breakdown. And then you go to the Wriggle Sweets room. And we played, I think, 5% of this room because it's so fucking long.
And again, it took me for fucking ever to outrun Augustus Gloop. It took me forever. And I was... Because there's these jelly squares you have to move to, and then if you get stuck with the genital plants, like, Augustus just floats on by, and apparently I have to care if he dies or not. I don't give a shit. I'm Charlie the glitch monster.
It really mirrored my experience with the Augustus game in Pop Tropica.
Yes. Getting into that Wriggle room was so annoying. So when you enter that room, it's more Candy Factory-esque, which I thought was cute at first. Again, I'm still in the phase of like, wow, I'm really pissed, but I finally beat that level. Okay, let's do this. There's moving platforms, you know. But now there's things that can smush you. They'll just randomly go down and smush you, which are like decently easy to, you know, figure out. But now there's a thing where you can like make an Oompa Loompa follow you, and you pick up a hammer, make the Oompa Loompa follow you, which was a whole button that I couldn't figure out for a long time. And then you're in front of something like
it was rock candy.
Rock candy. And then the Oompa Loompa will just knock it down if you can hit the right fucking button, which then happened. But
there's another thing where you bring an Oompa Loompa to a machine that the game says acts like a switch, which basically is just putting the Oompa Loompa in a hamster wheel with a seat.
Yes.
And he just like gets spun like he's in the fucking dryer.
Yeah. Absolutely insane. You can also collect letters for each level to spell Wonka, and you get extra something. I don't even know, but you might see a W and you're like, give me a W. So there was an O back there.
This is where we stopped. The rest of my notes from here on out are new shit. There was one machine that you hated that were these robot arms that wrap you up in a wrapper.
You, like, can't figure out how to escape them. It wasn't until the walkthrough, it was like, even still, it's bullshit. Half the time, the person got caught. You can't escape them. They wrap you up like a little bacon jalapeno. And then you... Oh my god, they just really pissed me. After all of that, I was like, how do I even fucking beat this?
Yeah.
Absolutely stupid.
Apparently, you have to collect a bunch of parts to get the Wriggle Sweets machine working again. And the game says the Wriggle Sweets wriggle delightfully in the tummy after swallowing. And it's just gummy worms. But you can also pick up and throw the Wriggle Sweets, which are used to distract grabber bots. And there are also scan bots. Wonka has a lot of bots.
A lot.
Is this the citation for Gravel and Bertha in the... in the West End musical?
Was this the giant inspiration?
Even though I was like, will this upset the Johnny Power ranking? Will this upset the Johnny Power ranking? And thankfully it didn't. I mean, it makes sense that he would have robots, but it is weird. It's a lot of robots. Like a lot. They kept adding... The thing about this game is it felt like the people who made it were like, we haven't introduced a new mechanic in a minute and a half. We need to add another one. Because there was like, a new thing. all the fucking time. And I guess I have to commend it to them for doing so much, but also, ugh.
But, like, at some point, there was basically a Roomba. But it could still kill you.
Well, those were the Wonka bots.
What the fuck? Stupid. Can nobody walk in here while you're cleaning because they died? Like,
that was the thing I wanted to say. Johnny did no fucking prep for these people coming to the factory. Turn your goddamn Roombas off. Turn off the robots. He, like, hadn't even made a way for them to get through the rooms. He's like, I don't know, you'll fucking figure it out. All the kids are lost. They're down these dead-end corridors, and Charlie's just going through like a real Nathan Drake, you know? Like, what is he doing? So you get to the fudge room, and you have to personally save Augustus by throwing fudge into an opening that's, like, in between two warring conveyor belts. And watching this pissed me off. Like, I got mad watching really bad. This.
So there's these, like, steam vents that can hurt you, too. So I think there's one on either side, and then there would be these pipes where you have to pick up the chocolate or the fudge. But then you'd have to jump perfectly and time it perfectly for this vat to open. Because it would only open sometimes, and then also be able to throw it perfectly to actually go in there. Too many things at once, in my opinion, especially for, like, the first boss level, so to speak. I was like, this is heinous to watch. When Augustus Gloop is freed, he hops out, and then what I believe is that a little chocolate falls from the ceiling and falls on his head. But the way that the graphics look, that chocolate looked a little red, and it looked like Augustus just got a vicious head wound. And I was, like, a little shocked at first. I was like, wait, what the fuck? And I was like, oh, wait, that's probably fudge, but, like, it looked graphic. It looked rough.
So the inventing room looked like a fucking planetarium. Space Mountain.
Monstrous.
It adds the, you can give Oompa Loompas candy balloons to get them to float to higher platforms, and you can also use seesaws to get them to do the same thing. But the person I watched playlist was really struggling to get the Oompa Loompas in the right spots. Like, they don't automatically go to the seesaw, even though that's where they need to be, which seems incredibly frustrating. Mm-hmm. But basically, like, this is the level where really the game becomes a true puzzle platformer, where, like, you have to, like, backtrack on yourself to get the right items in your collection, because you can only have a certain amount of items at a time, and make sure you have the Oompa Loompas in the right place. And it looked like they were going back and forth trying to get all this shit together, and I was like, I got tired watching this, and I was, like, skipping every 45 seconds.
Right.
I don't want to watch Elaine play
like,
it.
How do they know where to go? Like, because it's such a huge map also for these rooms. Like,
it took them, I think, like 30 minutes to beat this level. Like, 25. It was way too long.
The catapulting mechanic looked fun, but I would have hated it because I never would have gotten those Oompa Loompas on the exact right location, like you were saying.
Exactly.
Like,
that's because it looks fun. You do get to jump on it and launches them up, and that in concept is fun. But if the Oompa Loompas automatically went to the right spot, fine. But the rest of it doesn't. There's also you can now throw the Wriggle Sweets to flip switches. They also add grooming machines, which are used to tidy up scruffy Oompa Loompas who took the hair candy. And it's like a conch shell, and you push Oompa Loompas into it, and they come out clean, but the door doesn't, like, open unless you're a certain distance away.
It's the chitty bang bang haircut thing.
Literally! I also wrote Star Wars Hunger Games cornucopia. It's
wow.
Yeah, it is exactly the chitty bang bang thing, but it looked incredibly annoying. And then there's roller bots, which flatten lumpy things in their path. There's also grabber bots that throw chocolate at you. You can get a bean, and the Oompa Loompa will help you grow a plant with the bean.
I did enjoy that. That was really cute.
That was fun. But yeah, it took them like 20 minutes to pass this level, and it seemed really long.
Yeah.
Don't ask for a cohesive story. There isn't one. It's a platformer.
Was this when you could start, like, sneaking past robots, or did that happen in the next room?
No.
Okay.
There's some that you can use to distract them. But was there a sneaking element? I might have missed that.
Yeah, so the robots at some points would fall asleep, and you would, like, walk slowly past them, but then they would also wake up sometimes, and it was, like, absolutely wild. Like, these robots did 3 different things. Like you said, just different mechanics each time. But yeah, no, the next room, ouch.
To the juicing room. You have to push Violet to the juicing room. It introduces vertical fans to lift you and Violet up. It is an extremely long level, very much a puzzle platformer, and I want to play for you all the sound effect of rolling Violet Vobergard. Every time you push her. Every time.
My body gets right. It's the worst sound. It is the worst. I cannot hear that. Like, it's the worst sound.
Okay, so the juicing room, basically Violet it rolls around the walls of the circular room, and you have to pull a lever in time to trap her in the juicing machine and then step on a switch to actually juice her while avoiding getting hit, also looked really fucking annoying.
Yeah, there was too many steps, and then you could get hurt if Violet hit you also. So you had to make sure you like jumped up in time. If you missed capturing her, she'd barrel into you, so you had to jump up in time, but also not land on the steaming plate. It was insane.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. Absolute bonkers.
And then after that, it's the nut room garbage chute. And it's basically a rail sliding level as you slide on a green slimy garbage
actually.
chute. Yeah,
I love slime lugeing.
I thought
lugeing the best.
I think this one would be the one, if I had to play one, I'd play this level.
It was at this point also when I was watching this playthrough, because I put it on mute because obviously, but I did note that I was listening to Britney Spears' Circus album Deluxe, which is like a mediocre album. It set the tone.
So you avoid squirrels throwing nuts and jumping squirrels that you can distract with nuts. And then there are these rollers, like at the car wash, you have to avoid. And those were all my notes for the nut room garbage chute.
Which wasn't bad. That room seemed okay. Yeah, after all of that, I was like, that's fun. That was different, and it was like 8
minutes. It was a reasonable amount of time. It looked fun. Okay, the garbage pipe room. You just throw trash in a garbage pipe to fill it up to save Veruca, while avoiding a squirrel who you occasionally get nuts to avoid. And that's it. That's the whole thing. I mean, this didn't look as annoying, but... Yeah. I mean, it did look annoying, but of the levels where you have to save the kids, not as bad. Now we're on to the fizzy lifting room, which is so fucking long. I think this took this person like 30 to 40 minutes to play. We'll put links to the playthroughs that like we watched in the description. If you want to check it out. I mean, check it out to see Charlie crouch alone. But if you want to see that, you can also see it on our Buy Me a Coffee.
Were you able to watch this on 2x speed? Because I tried and I physically got sick and I couldn't.
Yeah, I think I had to watch it on like 1.5. It was too much. So I did a lot of skimming with like the arrow keys.
Same, but I got ill during this section. I was like, I'll try it again. I was like, I can't. It's just horrible. It moves too fast. And it goes so slow.
I will say, the 2005 movie does not have the fizzy lifting drinks room, so they brought it back.
No.
And since it's a more faithful adaptation of the novel, I thought, worth noting. That's really the only thing worth noting about this level, but we will talk about it. They added flying mechanics because there weren't enough mechanics. They just said, we need more of them. So, Wonka, I think once you get all the Oompa Loompas down, I think. This also reminded me of Jetpack Joyride, and I just want to say, what a game. Do y'all remember that? What a game that game was.
Spyro, and a section where you have to collect the penguins.
You can also send Oompa Loompas to crawl through places you can't reach. That's just a note. They also fix switches, which you need to get a wrench to give them to do that, which is a lot. Platforms have flames underneath them that hurt you, because it wasn't hard enough. It looked incredibly frustrating. Then you needed to find... This was like 15 minutes, and then you need to find machine pieces to restore the exploding candy machine. And I did make a note that the exploding candy machine did look remarkably like the machine in Christian Wonka's inventing room. That was it. That's the whole note. And then there's this cleaner bot who blasts you with water. And this is where I just wrote, you would think that Wonka would turn some of these off if he knew he was going to have guests.
Yeah.
Like... One day. You were having guests for one day, and you can't turn off you can't turn off the Roomba.
Why does it cause damage also? He's like, put bleach in everything. Fuck them up.
Like,
what
you
the
in a water
hell?
Bubble. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like, it was...
I think he was getting power washed. I will say the Johnny Wonka sprite also is, like, not as pale. It didn't feel like Johnny Wonka for some reason.
No, it didn't. He felt taller, too, in a weird way. I don't know.
Almost weirdly felt like Scott, and I'm not going to elaborate on that.
I don't like that at all, and I reject that, and I'm scared. But I respect your... Oh, no.
You don't have to respect
Silly goose. Welcome to Wonka Watch. You don't have to respect it. It's really not that important.
Then it's the television room. You can use a crusher to crush some of Wonka's robots, which is wild. He has too many, though, so I think it's fine. You need to find programming punch cards to override the TV network shutdown. And then there are switches on timers that are also in this game.
And again, the map is huge. I have no idea how they were able to keep track of all that, because also you're trying to get the Oompa Loompas out, but there was constantly doors stuck. So you're like, oh no, have to go another way to try to catapult, which would have ruined me alone. Without any extra mechanics, that alone would have pissed me off.
The cleaner robots are also called Wonka bots, and they seem to just exclusively cause problems. Like, Wonka's like, I don't care if you fuck these up. Like, it almost seems like he made them and doesn't really know how to control them, but I don't know. I wasn't paying that hard attention to the video. I'm gonna say it, I didn't really do my Wonka Scholarly duties this week, and I'm at peace with that. I think that was fair. It was like, a mental health break.
It was a lot. Again, like, there was just so many fucking mechanics that just, like, were unnecessary and didn't look like a fun game. It looked like you were learning how to hack the government. Like, I don't know. It was too much.
So yeah, in the television room, you need to find programming punch cards to override the TV network shutdown, and then they add timers to the switches, because why the fuck not? Then we get to the television maze, which seemed annoying.
Yes, but it was different.
It was different, and I did appreciate that. You basically can press buttons to open switches and switch these floor arrows to make Mike go the way you want. I will say I would probably be better at this than any other part of the game. Like, this is the one I think I could do.
And it's Pac-Man suddenly, because this whole thing has been, you know, like a little, I guess it's still first person. Well, second. It's suddenly a Pac-Man thing. And you're like, oh, that's wild.
Like a 2D side-scroller. And then it turned into Pac-Man. That's the term. You have to avoid these ambiguous alien monster-y things. Don't know what they were. But the whole thing was very digestive tracked. Like, it had these bubbly walls. Like these, and it had, like, the pattern on the inside was like pink with bubbles, and I'm like, is this a colon? That wouldn't make sense. But it did sure seem like a colon. It reminded me of, and no one else is going to know this, there was a game on the PBS Kids website for Fetch with Rough Ruffin where you played as a germ going through somebody's digestive tract, and that's what this reminded me of.
You're such a delight. You're such a delight. You keep me young.
There was 10 mazes you have to pass. Oh, and I did get the music for this one.
Boy.
It's like the music itself isn't bad, but it's so sharp.
It cracks my spine, you know what I mean? And it, like, turns my kidneys 360 degrees. That's the sound of your spine
cracking on the track.
Yeah. Like if I was, like, 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
If Puppet Wonka went to the chiropractor, that's, including the background music, what it would sound like each time he got cracked. Doop. Oh, that was a good one. I don't think they know how to loop music either. I think that's the problem, is they're not looping it properly. It doesn't end at the right moment. There's like a weird repetition, or they cut it off too soon, and it's a horrible loop.
Now we have the last level of Over the Town. This looked like it sucked. So it's only Charlie left. It's a glass elevator victory level. You have to avoid balloons, kites, storm clouds, fireworks, and buildings. And you also have to pick up items called, and I'm not joking, this is what they're called, 1 million candy power pickups to keep the elevator in the air because it has no power outside the factory. And also hot air balloons. You have to avoid those as well. At one point, you travel in an underground tunnel between buildings, and you get stuck on snow pileups.
Looked impossible to navigate.
This looked awful and hellish. But it was very much like the Pop Tropica game. It was like, fuck, it's the same thing. Yep. But the ending is simplified, because you know how in the 2005 movie, Charlie's like, but I want my family to come to the factory. And Wonka's like, no, I have issues with my dad, and I won't let you. In this game, he says, Charlie, you've taught me nothing is impossible. Bring Grandpa Joe. Bring the ball. And then the game's over and the credits roll. Like, revisionist history.
Yes.
So that's the full game, but I did want to talk about the mini games because I found a video of somebody playing 3 of the mini games. I think there's 5.
Nice.
These kind of seem to take place after Charlie wins the factory, which I thought was fun. The first game is called Lift a Loompa, where you help Oompa Loompas who have fallen into a fudge vat by getting them out with fudge dipper arms. Then you drop them on a conveyor belt, which has a variety of possible points on it. So it's like, depending on the timing you drop them, you get different points.
Okay.
These looked better than the game.
Okay. Yeah.
There was Blueberry Jam, where you help out Oompa Loompas who have been turned into blueberries by bouncing them on a trampoline to the juicing room, and sometimes squirrels fall down too, and you just have to avoid the squirrels. And it's basically like Pong, except you don't have to hit the same ball multiple times, you just hit it once.
That sounds really fun.
And then the last room is the Nut Room Chaos, where you throw nuts to the squirrels, but not to the Wonka bots who will steal them. which those were the cleaning robots, and I just thought, or do they just cause problems? Like, why the fuck does he have them? Like, what are they doing? I mean, I guess maybe if they're cleaning it, so if you throw the nut at the Wonka bot, it's going to clean it up. Maybe that's what it was, but...
Maybe, yeah.
I think there are other games, but I could not find videos of them, but that's about it. So that's the whole game. I mean, we've discussed... I couldn't find images of the completed Oompa Loompa album, and it did make me sad. But you know what? I think we could imagine what it would have been like.
They would have looked like. I would rather have the Hugh Grant stills. I would rather have the Hugh Grant stills. I've been painting my room all day, and when I was watching this playthrough again, like skimming it, I tried the 2x. There was a moment where I was like, I would rather be sitting on my bed watching my paint dry, which genuinely would have been fun because I know it would have been like, oh yeah, that's what it looked like. No, I would have rather watched paint dry than deal with the fizzy lifting room.
It made me so mad watching it. Like, I got like secondhand frustration,
rage,
and it wasn't even like we had a voiceover. It was just silent, and I could feel that was the person who played it.
I wanted a voiceover would have made it so much better, but it was just absolute silence, and I was like, I want to hear them going fuck, but it was nothing. It was like, it was like, did I
just
enter
silent
another reality?
Frustration.
Like...
The one thing I wanted to discuss that I think is an actual point of discussion, and then we will be allowed to do our silly outros and never think about this game ever again, is I wanted to talk about the way that these video games have to reframe Charlie as a hero by basically erasing Wonka's presence and making him save all the children himself. Or in the case of Pop Tropica, making you save all the children yourself. Because, like, in this game, Charlie does all the fucking work. He gets all the kids out. He has to traverse the factory like it's fucking Assassin's Creed. He, like, single-handedly saves them, gets all the kids out unscathed. It feels more like he earns the factory in this game. Like, I feel like this Charlie is the most deserving of the factory because that boy put in the fucking work. Oh my god.
He had killer bees after him. Like, what the fuck?
He had deadly Roombas. Like, come on. This kid has gone fucking through it.
He would fall... I don't know. Did he ever actually get hurt whenever he fell? Or was it just like, oh man, that's a bummer. I don't think he got hurt when he would do a giant fall.
Yeah.
Which is wild. So his bones are probably fucked up. He needs to go to the chiropractor that Puppet Wonka goes to.
I just wanted to mention that. I mean, there's not much more discussion than that. I just think we always talk about how Charlie's kind of a nothing burger.
Yeah, and so they have to
because we are both. We are the biggest Wonka scholars and the biggest Wonka haters.
Ain't it wild? Ain't it wild what we do on a weekly basis?
On a weekly basis for over a year and a half.
Why focus on the past, Felicia, when we can focus on the future with some prequel predictions?
Yes.
God, I hope there's some kind of stupid Timmy Wonka game. I want it so badly. But yeah, I feel like there'll be some weird mini game that people probably won't really play, and it's going to be lame, and it's just going to be there for the sake of marketing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll be like a 15-minute game. That's my prediction.
I was going to guess something like that, so that's not helpful for me. I'm going to say it. I'm going to be specific. Timmy Wonka dress up. Timmy Wonka dress up game.
Oh my god, that would be really silly, though.
I don't think they're going to make it, but I would like them to. And I want an officially licensed one. I'm not talking about a fan one. Fan ones are great, and if one is made, I do want to see it. But do I want just like a Timmy Wonka dress up that's just like bad PNGs of outfits that he doesn't even wear in the movie, like a big turkey costume? I think that'd be fun. But I'm talking officially licensed Timmy Wonka dress up. I don't think they will do it, but maybe they will.
I like it.
I guess that's it.
Wow. What a time we've had.
Good Lord.
I'm so depressed and happy. You know, like, I'm glad I got to do it with you. This is when it's like, thank God this isn't a solo podcast.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Wonka Watch. Thanks for listening to us be mad for about an hour, but that's what you come here for.
You come here for our silly anger.
If you were annoyed at us being mad sometimes, you wouldn't have made it to episode 83, would you?
Absolutely not.
Lord, too many. Too many is what I always say. 83, too big of a number. Make it smaller.
I should start checking my blood pressure, like, during non-Wonka related things and then during Wonka related things. What happens to my body? Because I feel like I physically go through things.
Do a test for my cholesterol.
Right. I have to tell my doctor. So I don't know how to manage this, but I'm having problems because
It's
of a
extremely
podcast.
localized stress about something that I chose to do myself.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, or if you played this game yourself and have horror stories, we would love to hear it. Or if you have anything else you want to contact us about, you can email us at wonkaraptor@gmail.com, and we're also on TikTok and Instagram at Wonka Watch. You can also support us over on our Buy Me a Coffee, and when this episode airs, the video of us playing through the first 2.5 levels of this game will be up on our Buy Me a Coffee. Just kind of a cut down of our fucking journeys and adventures playing it. We had a really good time recording the video. It is very fun. I mean, we didn't have a good time, but we did. You know what I mean?
We did. Yeah. And
We
if you want to
did.
hear like the hottest tracks of the summer, you can also get the well-made EP.
Oh yeah, the well-made EP.
The well-made EP.
That's also on there. It's in like our extra store because we could do a weird workaround, but you can download it on there. If you don't want to become a member, just want the EP, it's probably around $2, I think, or something like that. You know, go for it. It's fun. But yeah, and if you join our membership, you get a fun little song too. That's the other thing.
Yes.
So with all that being said and done, the Oompa Loompa album has never, I don't think there's ever been a better representation of It's Not That Important than the Oompa
Truly.
Loompa album. Like, I think really, as much as I hated it, there's something so joyful to me about the Oompa Loompa album. How careless they were with your time. How little they gave a shit.
Yes.
How, like, flagrant, like, just
amount of work.
obnoxiously, like, here you go, it's a picture of an Oompa Loompa. Obnoxious, absurd.
The amount of work you had to do to get there.
I kind of fucking love it. Like, the Oompa Loompa album was my favorite part of this game because it was so bad. Like, I'm not joking.
Defeated. It was so funny.
I think how
There was, like,
bad it was
silence
almost a reward in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like,
if
no,
it was
this was
mediocre,
pointless.
it would have almost been worse than this terrible piece of shit single image of an Oompa Loompa we had to face. But, I mean, it really is no better representation of It's Not That Important.
Yeah, not that important.
Bye. Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody. I'm gonna go find a Swiffer and have it kill me now.
What?